So welcome into your practice. Today's practice is all centered around a peak pose of Vrichikasana, which is the scorpion pose. Scorpion pose, much like its animal namesake, is one that can incite some fear in practitioners because the full pose is in fact a pretty challenging shape. It's typically done either from forearm stand or handstand, and then the knees bend into the little scorpion tail over top. We're going to play with deconstructing that pose throughout the practice so that we get to play with that idea of scorpion and the shape of the scorpion tail, but from maybe some more accessible angles and viewpoints. The idea throughout the practice today is to think about how you both on and off your mat approach fear and approach doing things that maybe bring up a little bit of that fear instinct. And so using this as an opportunity to work with some of those kind of habitual emotional responses within you. The last thing I'll say is that from a yoga philosophy standpoint, the head is where kind of the ego and pride sort of emotions live. And so in full Vrichikasana, scorpion pose, the feet come and actually step on the head. And from a philosophical standpoint, what you're doing is you're actually pressing down, repressing, keeping into place the ego and pride so that they don't outgrow an appropriate shape or amount. So that's also something we're working with today. We're going to start in hero's pose as I'm in now. And if you want to sit on a block to be a little bit more comfortable, you could do so. You can bring the hands onto the lap or just rest them alongside you. And just take a few moments, you might close your eyes to start to let the chin drift up and down in a vertical line. And this could start really small and gradually get a bit larger. A lot of the postures and variations that we'll be working with today will ask for a relatively expansive range of motion in the cervical spine and the neck. The next time your chin is lifted upwards, pause where it's kind of right where the wall and the ceiling would meet, and open and close the mouth a few times, maybe exaggerating that stretching of the chin kind of up and forward. So you really feel the stretch down the front of the throat, kind of stretching the muscles around the esophagus, even into the upper chest. And then just let the jaw come back into its neutral position. Let your head float through center. The chin's going to drop all the way to the chest. Keeping the chin towards the chest. Make sure the rest of the spine is really tall and kind of an intentional, alert posture. Interlace the hands behind the head. Let the elbows dip towards the mat. And just let the weight of the arms gently rest on the back of the head. And then maybe introduce a very subtle swaying of the head from side to side here. And just gently encouraging a sort of stretching and elongation of those muscles at the back of the neck and the throat. And then as the chin comes back to center, let the hands fall back to the lap or the knees. Let the head float back up to center. Pause for a breath or two, just noticing how the neck is feeling. Hopefully it feels spacious. And then we're going to shift forward onto an all fours position. And you can begin by just moving in a way that feels intuitive, not overly thought out. Just kind of whatever parts of the body are asking to be tended to. And then eventually we're going to start to find some cat and cow. The Vrichikasana scorpion variations that we're working with today all ask the body to move into a sort of backbending shape. So we will be preparing all the different parts of the body anatomically that are supporting backbends. And that includes kind of the front of the hips, hip flexors, quadriceps. Now the next time you come to neutral here, pause for a moment, lower right forearm and left forearm onto the mat, and then resume your cat and cow at this slight angle. And you might notice that you feel this a little bit more in the upper back, which is intentional. And this is also starting to get us into the forearms, which is a shape we'll play with as we work our way towards approaching scorpion pose. Now find a neutral spine so that your spine kind of looks like a slide or a seesaw. So bring your left knee a little bit more towards the midline of your mat. Extend your right leg towards the back of the mat. If balance is a challenge for you, this could be a stopping point. Or start to sweep your right toes up towards the ceiling, reaching your right toes up towards the ceiling as much as possible. As you keep your right leg lifting, I want you to draw your chin forward and feel the front of the neck and the throat just kind of elongate and become a little bit more spacious. Take one more breath right here. And then as you exhale, we're going to immediately switch sides. So the right knee comes down. You're going to replace it in the midline of the mat. Slide your left leg back. Again, this could be a stopping point. Or sweep that left leg up towards the ceiling, pointing the toes towards the sky. As you hold this and breathe for a couple more breaths, keep drawing the chin forward. In full Vrichikasana, we have ourselves in a forearm position, a forearm balance, but with the gaze forward. Lower that left knee down, tuck both of your toes, and then extend your legs to the back of your mat, landing in a Sphinx pose. Take a couple breaths here to press the forearms down, and then imagine pulling your elbows towards the ribs. Take one more full inhale here. We're going to roll up very intentionally, unrushed, into forearm plank. So start to pick up the ribs, the pelvis, the thighs, and eventually tuck your toes, lift the knees, find yourself in forearm plank. And then anchor down through the forearms a little bit more, feeling like you sort of puff up the upper back. Take one more inhale here in the forearm plank. And then instead of collapsing down, lower one part at a time. The knees, the thighs, the pelvis, the lower abdomen. Take a full inhale in your Sphinx. Exhale, slide the palms back simultaneously underneath your shoulders. Tuck those elbows in. Inhale, lift up to a cobra pose. And then shift back to child's pose for 3 breaths. Allow the low back to really feel nourished by this child's pose. We are, as I mentioned, going to be doing a lot of back bending today. So take these moments in child's to kind of restore a sense of spaciousness and flexibility in the low back. We'll move through that sequence one more time with a few add-ons. So shift forward to all fours and again start to move through some cat and cow. We're going to start to layer in a few more elements of the scorpion tail portion of Vrichikasana. Finding the neutral spine, again lowering down onto the forearms and resuming that cat and cow, but perhaps with a bit more awareness in the upper back and the chest. And then finding that neutral seesaw spine. Bring the left knee to the middle of the mat. Slide the right leg back. That's a stopping point. Or sweep the right leg up. Now we're going to add on here by bending the right knee like our scorpion tail. As you draw your chin forward, think of reaching your right toes forward as well. Now you could stay right here, or one more layered option. Take your left forearm at a slight diagonal and start to sweep your right hand back towards your right foot. Push your right hand into your right foot. Take one more inhale. And then lower the right hand and forearm down. Lower your right knee down. Take one cat and cow between sides just to kind of get a little bit of mobility in the spine. Then draw the navel in. Feel that strong diagonal plank in the torso. Right knee to the middle of the mat. Left knee slides back. That could be a stopping point, or sweep that left leg up. Start to grow your scorpion tail, softening that left knee. And then as the chin reaches forward, the left toes draw forward. Staying there, or pivoting the right forearm at a diagonal so you have more surface area for balance. Maybe reaching that left hand back to find the foot, pushing the foot into the hand, deepening that back bend. One more breath. And then gently releasing as you lower forearm, lower knee, tuck the toes, slither down into your Sphinx pose. Take a full breath in your Sphinx. Start to roll up into your forearm plank, picking up ribs, pelvis, thighs, eventually the knees. Push down into the forearms, feel the upper back puff up. And then lower intentionally knees, thighs, pelvis, lower abdomen. Take your in-breath in your Sphinx. Out-breath, slide the palms back. In-breath, Bhujangasana, Cobra. Out-breath, Child's Pose for 3. And 2. One more breath here. I'm going to add just a little flow here as you inhale, shift the body forward, rock over the knees, lift the shins, keep your big toes tented together, drop the pelvis, drop the head. You're in King Pigeon pose. Then pivot back to your Child's Pose, shins down, hips to heels. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, rocking forward, pelvis drops, toes are tented together, imagining a string drawing the head to the toes. Then shifting back and finding your child's. One more time, not overly rushing this, taking our time to kind of luxuriate in the back bend. One more full inhale. We'll start to find our first down dog as we tuck the toes, lift the hips, press up and back. And as we often do, allowing this first down dog to be very conversational. You may already be feeling your low back. I am. So I'm knowing that I'm going to need to take some care. Sometimes when I feel my low back, I can get a little fearful. I don't want to go too far in poses. And yet I know that there's some challenging and exciting shapes ahead. So I'm going to have to be balancing that fear with kind of seeing where my boundary is, breath by breath. We'll move through a few sun salutations just to kind of warm up the body, move through every kind of major muscular system just to get the body nice and awake. Let's look to the front of the mat, walking or stepping the feet to the back of the wrists. Taking a half salutation as you inhale for a half lift. Exhale, fold in Uttanasana. Inhale, rising all the way up to your mountain pose. Exhale, hands to heart center. Let's take 2 half salutations. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, folding over the legs. Inhale for the half. Exhale, fold. Inhale, back up to mountain. Exhale to heart center. One more half. Inhale, out and up. Exhale, folding. Inhale, half. And fold. In breath to rise. Out breath, hands to heart. 2 Surya A. Sweep the arms out and up, keeping this portion of the practice nice and simple over the legs. There's enough complexity coming, half lift. Stepping it back to plank. You could also always take the knees down here. Chaturanga, up dog, down dog, 3 breaths. Noticing kind of if you have any habits around the emotion of fear. Is your habit to disengage? Is your habit to ignore the fear and push through like a bull in a china shop? Look to the front of the mat, walking or stepping the feet. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold, but just acknowledging, not with any sort of judgment, rising up. Hands to heart center. One more Surya A. Inhale, out and up. Just acknowledging your own habits around these more challenging emotions like fear. Half lift. Just thinking of it at step back to plank, lower chaturanga, is really valuable information to know about yourself. Down dog for 3 breaths.
Because when you have that information about yourself, you know kind of what your instinctual patterned response is. And if it's less than helpful, then that awareness actually gives you a little bit of space and opportunity to try something different. Look to the front of your mat, walking or stepping the feet. Inhale, half lift. Fold in. Sweep the arms out and up. Hands into heart center. You can take a quick moment to kind of adjust the clothing, take a sip of water. We're going to move into kind of the biggest body portion of the practice. And the way I've structured this is we're going to build on to lunge salutations. We're going to do 4 lunge salutations, but inside of each of these lunge salutations is a different sort of approach or side door or back door to an aspect of scorpion pose. So just know that we'll need to keep those ears open for some of the nuance that's going to come inside of each layered sun salutation. So we'll find our way into the mountain pose at the front of the mat. Releasing the arms alongside you. Let's take a full breath in, really feeling the body tall. Full breath out, feeling grounded, ready for whatever is to come. Inhale, sweep those arms out and up. Exhale, folding over the legs. Inhale, take a half lift. We're going to lead with the left in every single one of these cycles. So step your left foot to the back of the mat and go ahead and lower the left knee down on Vinyasa, and then walk your hands up onto the right knee or thigh. Take a couple breaths just to settle in here. Just feel the lunge. Do all the things we typically do, which is we feel that front heel scooping towards the back knee. We feel the pelvis dropping. We feel the shoulders kind of stacked over the hips as the heart is lifting. And just take one more breath here in this really foundational pose. Now, because we are preparing for backbend, we're going to get a little bit into the quads here. So option to add on a quad stretch by lifting the back shin and foot, finding the top of that foot. Notice my pelvis just lifted. So try to reassert the dropping of the pelvis, maybe sweep the right arm forward and up. And then bend your right elbow and push your right fingertips back, but without letting the elbow come out wide like a wing. Keep the elbow in. Fingertips keep pushing back. One more in-breath here. And then exhale, windmill the arms down to the mat. Step back to downward facing dog. Now we're going to use Ashtangasana, 8-pointed pose, as a building block place for us to play with variations of scorpion pose. So without moving your feet, drop your knees to the mat. 8-pointed pose. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to bring our chest in between our thumbs and our chin out front. Pause for a moment here. Feel your palms pushing into the mat and your elbows lengthening to the back of your space. Now keep that left knee anchored, but start to sweep your right leg back and up, just like we did in the forearm earlier. Bend your right knee for a scorpion tail. Take an in-breath there, and then switch sides. Lower the right knee, sweep the left leg back and up, bend the knee, left toes reaching towards the wall in front of you. Inhale, exhale, left knee down. Slide onto the belly. Inhale from the back of the heart, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take 2 breaths here in downward facing dog. One more breath in. We're going to step the left foot forward. Right knee is going to go lower down on Vinyasa. Hands walk onto the left thigh. Take a couple breaths to settle into your classic low lunge. One more breath just here. And then option to add on the quad stretch, lifting the back shin, finding the foot, trying not to lift the pelvis too much as you keep it heavy, sweeping left arm forward and up. Then bend the left elbow without winging the elbow out, keep it in, but push the left fingertips back, trying to get the left bicep by the left ear. Good. Take one more in-breath.
And then windmill the arms down to the mat on your exhale. Step your right foot forward to meet your left. Rise all the way up, mountain pose. Concluding the first of our 4 salutations, hands to heart center. Release your arms, take a full breath in. Bring the palms of the hands together, full breath out. Start to reach your arms forward, up and back, folding over your legs. Step your left foot to the back of the mat, again, leading with your left. Walk your right foot out to the outer edge of your mat, lizard pose. Go ahead and drop the knee, untuck the toes. Take a few breaths in your lizard. Adding on into the quad stretch, this time with opposite hand. So left shin and foot would lift. Right hand could sweep back and around to see if the foot's available. Now the tendency is to twist here, but I want to encourage you for today's purposes to square the shoulders and the hips, maybe bend the right elbow to draw the left heel towards the left glute. Stay here one more breath. And then gently release that left foot. Tuck your left toes, high flying lizard. Lift your left knee. As you breathe here for 2 more breaths, squeeze your right knee into your outer right shoulder. Look forward, reach your chin forward, feeling the front of the throat long. Take 1 more breath in here. I want you to feel that strong left leg. That's gonna matter, okay? Step back to your downward facing dog. Beautiful. Ashtangasana, 8-pointed pose without moving your feet. Lower the knees. Chest and chin to the mat. Just like we did last time, sweep the right leg back and up into your scorpion tail. Left toes are still tucked. Remember how we came into that high-flying lizard? Push your left heel back, straighten your left leg. Full inhale, and then lower left knee, lower right knee, switch sides, left leg back and up. And then push the right heel back, straightening right knee, breathe in and out. Coming out of the pose, sliding to the belly. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down dog. 2 full breaths. If you need to have a little movement here, welcome that in. Then looking to the front of your space. Left foot's gonna step forward, right knee's gonna melt down. You're gonna wiggle that left foot to the outer mat, finding your lizard pose. Take a couple breaths here. 1 more breath. And then option to add in that quad stretch, opposite hand to foot. So as the right shin and foot lifts, left arm sweeps around. And for today's intention, we're keeping shoulders and hips square, maybe bending the left elbow to draw the right heel towards the right glute. 1 more breath here. And then we gently release. Maybe the left foot needs to come to the middle of the mat slightly. Step the right foot in, folding forward fold. Rising all the way up. Hands into heart center. I'm going to pause for just a moment because for this 3rd round, I want you to see what we're doing in the interim so that you're not going to be moving your head or your chin to try and see me at all. I want you to know what the shape looks like. So from your 8-pointed pose, we'll do the same thing with the scorpion tail, but there's going to be option to bind to the top of the foot and then extend that bottom leg. So it looks like this. I'm going to try not to talk because it's a little bit intense on my jaw when I do. So from Ashtangasana, it continues like this. So it's very similar when we did it on the forearms and played with the bind, but it is an opposite hand to foot bind. And then you think of that low lizard lunge leg stretching out in the bottom, okay? You give it a whirl. If the bind feels a little too precarious, stay with the variation that we just did. We'll start at the front of the mat. This is round 3 of our sun salutations with that layered input in the middle. In your mountain pose, breathing in. In your mountain pose, breathing out, palms come together. Reaching arms forward, up and back. And then folding over the legs. Leading again with the left, this time keeping the knee lifted for a high lunge. Sweep the arms forward and up. A couple things we're going to work on here. First, I want you to bend the elbows simultaneously. Again, notice we're trying not to let the elbows widen, keep them in, and then fingertips go straight back as we try to bring those biceps by the ears. Take one more breath right here. And then totally opposite, let your elbows come wide, hold onto opposite elbows like you're creating a picture frame with your arms. Again, feeling biceps by the ears. And then imagine pulling your elbows and biceps back as you lift your heart and find a back bend. Soften your back left knee just a little bit. See if that allows you to access a slightly deeper back bend. One more in-breath here. And then out breath, release the hands to the mat, find pyramid pose. Keep your legs like a railroad track, so left heel just melts to the mat, but probably doesn't touch. Fingertips walk forward, nose melts in towards the right shin. Breathe for 2. Breathe for 1. Sweep your right leg straight up and back, 3-legged dog. And then I want you to make a scorpion tail with that 3-legged dog. Let your shoulders shift forward over your wrists, come up onto the ball of your left toes, and then knee to nose round the spine. Do that 2 more times. Scorpion tail in your down dog, shift the weight forward, and then knee to nose. 1 more time, scorpion tail up and over. And then bring it straight down, down dog. Now we're moving into that Ashtangasana with that binded option without moving your feet. Lower the knees. Chest and chin. I'm going to keep talking. You're going to sweep your left leg up and over, building your scorpion tail. Then see if you can sweep your right hand back to find the top of your left foot. If you get the bind, push the foot into the hand and extend that bottom leg, reaching the heel back. Take 1 more inhale and then slowly release out. We're immediately going to do the next side. Sweep that right leg up and over. Maybe opposite arm comes to the foot. With your bind, toes reach up. Left heel reaches back. Last inhale. Coming out, slide to the belly. Feel that beautiful big cobra. Downward facing dog. Take a full breath in. It's a lot for the body, full breath out. Take that high lunge sequence on the second side. Step the left foot forward, keep the right knee lifted. You're in your high lunge, arms sweep up. First variation, we bent those elbows, fingertips move straight back, trying to keep the inner elbows moving towards one another. Noticing if the front ribs are really flaring open, there's a gentle drawing in there. Then elbows come wide, hold on to opposite elbows, creating your picture frame. Pull the elbows and the upper arms back. Soften the right knee, feeling that back bend. 1 more in-breath. And then we don't want to miss that 3-legged scorpion flow on the second side. So hands come down. Sweep your left leg up and over. Find your scorpion tail. You're on the ball of the right foot, shoulders over wrists, and then knee to nose. 2 more. Up and over, scorpion tail, knee to nose.
Last one, up and over. Knee to nose. Step your left foot forward. Step your right foot forward. Rising all the way up, mountain pose. Hands to heart center. Good news, no more Ashtangasana. You've done all of those today. Release the arms down, take a full breath in. Fourth and final round. Exhale, palms of the hands together. Reach those arms forward, up and back. Folding over the legs. Still leading with the left as we step back to high lunge. Now this is a nice balancing challenge. I actually really like this. So you're going to find that picture frame arm just like you did previously. So you're holding onto those opposite elbows. And then from your high lunge position, you're going to start to make a circle. So you're going to lean your torso to the right, keep your picture frame around your head. Now drop and round forward a little bit like a cat pose. Then lean to your left. And then lean back around for a back bend. Do one more time in that direction. Lean right, that's it. Then round forward. Keep the picture frame around the head, lean left. Lean back for your back bend. Then reach the arms back. Bring the hands down to the mat. We're coming onto our spine, so left leg comes forward. You come to lie back for bridge pose, feet on the mat, palm down alongside you. Take your breath in, and then as you breathe out, push down into the feet and the palms. Roll up one vertebra at a time, finding your bridge. If you want to take a bind here, rolling the shoulders onto the back, interlacing the fingers, you could. We're here, 2 more breaths. Last in breath. And then slowly rolling down one vertebra at a time. Knees into the chest. We're going to rock and roll up and back to downward facing dog. If you want to find a vinyasa on the way, I'm not going to stop you. Or come straight to down dog. Totally your choice. We'll do that on the second side as we lead the left foot forward in between the thumbs. Keep the right knee lifted as we sweep the arms up. Find our picture frame. And then we start our circles, leaning left first, forward, right. This is an incredible balance challenge. Back bend. One more time, circling left, forward, back, right, and back. Reach the arms back. Last breath in, we come back onto our spines, hands down, right foot forward, coming onto our spine, either setting up for a second bridge or preparing for wheel pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana. If you're coming into Urdhva Dhanurasana, bringing the palms by the ears, fingertips facing the shoulders, planting through the feet wherever you are, take your full breath in. On your exhale, rise up into your back bend of either bridge or wheel. Breathing for 3. If you're in wheel, strong elbows, let the throat open. 2. One more in-breath. And then slowly controlling the descent down. Again, knees to chest. You could either go straight to down dog or find a vinyasa along the way. Whenever you get to down dog, we have 2 more breaths there. 1. Looking to the front of the mat, walking or stepping the feet. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Sweep the arms out and up. Hands into heart center. Release the arms, shake it out. Really nice time for a sip of water here. Any adjustments you need to make. We are going to move into about 2 to 3 minutes of dedicated playtime. Okay, I want to give a few different options. So we are going to work with some form of an inversion.
with our scorpion tail. Two options are to do the down dog or the dolphin options that we work with one leg at a time. Just getting that scorpion tail overhead, holding it for 7 to 10 breaths each side to build some stamina in the body. If you have a stable inversion practice in either headstand or forearm stand, you could do that either alone on the mat if you feel very secure or up against a wall. If you were to do the headstand, which I'll show now, my biggest piece of advice is that as you start to come into your Vrichikasana, keep the forearms and elbows really heavy so that the gravity doesn't get too heavy on the back side of the pose. Okay? If you're going to play with your forearm stand, chin is going to look down so the front of the throat is long. And then you can start to work the pose. Chin really long, and then come out. Again, the energy of the pose is the toes coming onto the head to repress that expansion of ego and pride. Okay? I'm watching the clock. Choose your playtime. You have about 2 to 2.5 minutes to play as you want. Safety first, always. And if you are choosing a down dog or a dolphin version to work with this, focus on the stamina building. If you're using a wall, you can use your wall to bring one or both feet into the wall and then slowly walk the feet down, feeling your heart pulling forward, your chin reaching towards the wall to feel that energy of the scorpion with the prop. Got another minute, so if you want to continue working with the pose you've been working with, stick with that. If you want to change it up, you could try something else for the second half of playtime. And as we mentioned at the beginning of this practice, so much of this is about learning how we work with fear. How we work with doing something that feels a little bit precarious, a little dangerous, and yet doing it and approaching it in a very mindful way. Give yourself about 5 more breaths working with the aspect of the pose you're currently working with. We will all meet lying on our bellies. So once you've completed your playtime, start to make your way onto your abdomen and take the arms out wide with your palms facing down. So it's like you're a capital T on your mat. And for a moment, just lift your head and actually look at your right palm, look at your left palm, because that's where you are going to be directing your toes as we do this belly down scorpion twist. So you can bring your forehead to the mat, or you can just kind of gently gaze down at the mat. You could even close the eyes. You're going to lift your left leg and then reach your left toes towards your right palm as you twist open, and then bring the left leg back to center. Lift the right and bring it up towards that left palm, and then lower it down. 3 more each side. Left foot to right wrist and down, and right foot to left and twist. So this is kind of like literally a twist on the scorpion pose. And right, great for the low back. Last time, left and down, curving your little scorpion tail. and down. We'll take a deeper hold. So bring your left palm underneath your left shoulder. Roll over the right side body. Take your left foot behind the extended right leg. Let your head and temple rest on the mat. Maybe take your left hand, drape it on your low back. Take a couple breaths here. And switching sides, slowly rolling back onto the belly. Extend your left arm alongside you. Bring your right palm underneath the shoulder. Roll over the left side body. Right foot behind you. Nice. Maybe the right hand comes to the low back. And slowly rolling back onto the belly. And taking your time, we're pressing up to child's pose. You may need a kind of little cat-cow or even just a few pelvic rocks in between, particularly if your low back is feeling a little tender or twingy. And then settling into a child's pose where we're going to be for about a minute. So you've got plenty of time in this child's pose. If you want to bring the arms alongside the legs near the feet, you could do so. Really starting to slow down the practice now. Feeling into the breath and the body. A lot of incredible exertions taken place over the last 40 minutes or so. Maybe just allowing your mind to focus a little bit more on the exhale, starting to down-regulate the nervous system. And then use your next couple of breaths to shift the body into a supine position with the soles of the feet together, knees wide, Supta Baddha Konasana. And you can allow this to be slightly more of a diamond shape. Allow gravity to just draw the legs into whatever depth of the shape is available right now. So you're not pushing, you're not trying to use the hands to go any deeper. Gravity's doing the work, you're just allowing it to happen. And just acknowledging that even animals like the scorpion, we have quite a bit in common with all of our animal ancestors, whether we realize it or not. And even an animal that we fear or scurry away from or try to avoid at all costs, like the scorpion, does have something to teach us, particularly about our own relationship to fear. Our own habitual responses when something a little bit scary and dangerous lurks in front of us. As we prepare to close this practice, take one hand onto the belly, another onto the heart. Take a breath or two, just deeply appreciating your body for the incredible effort that it put forth in this practice that was quite challenging. And then choosing your favorite side, roll onto your favorite side into a fetal position, perhaps pausing for a breath or two. And then using your hands to press back up, finding a comfortable seat to conclude the practice. either returning the hands onto the body or bringing the palms of the hands together. This mudra that symbolizes the body and the mind coming together as one in this practice, unification. And we ask that the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light, which sounds like these 4 words in Sanskrit. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Victory to all of our practices.